All right, I just want to do a quick video and talk about why I think it's so important to make recommendations, or not to make recommendations, to follow recommendations for products, and why I think reviews are going to be even more and more important in this day and age. And one of the reasons is I just got off the phone with a company called a domain registrar named Enom. They're one of the largest registrars on the planet. And I want to go through why it's very, very, very important to pay attention when people recommend where to register your domain name, where to get hosting, and like if somebody is really passionate about it, it's because they've had bad experiences and they know to tell you to avoid those. So I'm going to give you an experience that I just went through. I've had a longtime client call me about 3 weeks ago. He's got a domain name. Actually, let me make sure that you can't see it right now. It's supposed to be it's supposed to be blurred out. I'll have to edit this video. Anyway, just to respect his privacy, he has nothing to do with this. So I have a longtime client who called me up and said, "Hey Matt, I can't renew my domain name. I can't get the people on the phone. Can you help me?" I'm like, "Fuck, all right. I know exactly what to do. I've been doing this, so many years. I've done it 100 times." Never in my life did I expect this to be such a terrible, terrible, terrible experience. Makes me want to fucking wring somebody's neck. So this domain name from this client, which was registered like fucking years and years ago, 10 years ago, at a Enom reseller called Ezot. And if you go to ezot.com and you look at the homepage, it doesn't even look like they offer domain registration services, nor does it look like they offer web hosting services or anything else. So I emailed them and I asked them for, how do we reset the password? We do all that. I get the client to forward me the email. I get the login credentials. I log in on his behalf and start messing around with things. Well, lo and behold, you go to a subdomain, which is like, websites or domains.ezot.com or some crazy thing, and it redirects to access.enom.com. And then you log in with username and password, and then guess what? You get two options. You can have an option to set up the DNS records, and you can have an option to change the contact information, which is basically just the whois information. You know how that helps? It doesn't at all. You can't renew the domain name, you can't cancel it, you can't transfer it, you can't do shit. It's absolutely horrible. So they give you limited access. Basically, I think the play here is that the service is so bad. So let me just go through this now. This has been happening for 3 weeks. I've been dealing with these people. And the reason why is it takes so long to communicate with them because they won't pick up the phone. They don't offer phone support. They have a phone number on the main website, but you call them, you won't get a response. And it specifically says support tickets are only handled by email. So you have to email them and then wait for a response. Well, if that takes a couple of days every single time between an exchange, it's a couple of days. This is a process to renew his domain name. I mean, if it's at a prominent registrar that I'm familiar with the interface on, it should take 3 minutes. If it's at GoDaddy, if it's at Namecheap, if it's at NameSilo, it's any of the top registrars. If I want to transfer the domain name, it should be 5 minutes or less. And that is including getting the authorization keys and inputting them in the other registrar for the transfer. So if that's great to you, don't worry about it. What I'm getting at is instead of having one place where you can log in and manage your stuff, the reason why you want to stay away from companies like Ezot, and the reason why this client is calling me for help, is because they make it so fucking complicated that you're just like, fuck it, whatever, I'll pay $50 a year to renew the domain name, and it's nothing special. I mean, this is like a $10 registration. There's no private whois, there's no email services, there's no hosting. It's literally just a domain name renewal. And so the issue is then, in order to do anything, you have to go to another website, like their bizsiteservice.com or something like that. So you've got 3 different URLs right now that you're trying to work with, and none of them will give you access to actually manage the domain name to renew it. You have to email them, and then they send you another link, and it goes to renewals.ezot.com, which is another fucking subdomain, which is insane, just absolutely insane. So I finally initiate, I call GoDaddy. I'm like, hey, this is a situation, I've never encountered this before in all my years and thousands of domain names that I've owned myself, not to mention the ones that I've managed for clients in the past. Is there anything that we can do? So they said I should call the primary reseller, which is Enom. The domain name reseller is Ezot, but the primary registrar where it's housed in, it's kind of like a real estate broker. You house your license at a brokerage firm. is to call the primary registrar and ask them if they can forcefully take it back. I called them. You know what they said? They said, yeah, we can do that for you. We have a sale right now. We have a special. It's $50 a year annual domain name renewal cost, and it's a minimum of 4-year requirement to forcefully pull it back from a reseller. So I'm like, you want to extort me for $200 to regain access to this domain name, and I'm supposed to pass that off to the client, and it's going to be a hassle? Like, what the fuck is going on here? So I don't use Enum either, Enum specifically, but you know, at least they were actually willing to do something. I think the price is outrageous, and they should just have, you know, whatever, doesn't matter. So here we are. So I called GoDaddy back, and I'm like, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to get these fuckers to release the domain name somehow. I'm going to get them to send me the EPP code, or the EP, whatever, the authorization keys to authorize the transfer into GoDaddy from Ezot. So I emailed them 4 or 5 other times, and I think they knew I was getting frustrated because they started responding a lot quicker. The first transfer failed because the domain name was locked within the control panel. So, because one of the 3 URLs that you have to log into, different places, different websites completely, to manage the domain name, because there wasn't a tab in there for you to lock and unlock the domain, which allows it to be able to be transferred in the first place, the transfer at GoDaddy failed. So I had to redo it, and then I had to contact these guys, and then they send me yet another URL to log into. It's called registryrocket.com. You log into this, and this is actually more of a control panel that has DNS records, it has contact information, it has everything that you would need. So what they do is restrict access to clients. I think the play here is in hopes that they'll just stay with them, because, like, you know, my old client called me and he was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. I mean, we're kind of screwed if you can't help us out. And because the people don't have phone support, that's why I stress phone support, phone support, phone support. Even people are bashing me right now, and they're saying, hey Matt, you kind of sold out, you're recommending Bluehost. And I was like, yeah, but you got to look at the options. Sure, Bluehost is not the best hosting company when it comes to hardware and speed and everything else. But is it the best for a beginner? You got to look at all the options. I think it is. The reason why is I had to call them the other day. Fucking, I got a native English-speaking American on the phone with me in 2 minutes or less. I don't even get that at GoDaddy. GoDaddy's terrible compared to the support at LocalWeb, and I recommend GoDaddy all day long. So yeah, while I'm the first person to be called a hypocrite because I will bash the hell out of any EIG-owned hosting company, and Bluehost is EIG-owned, for some reason they have phenomenal phone support. And for a beginner, for somebody that actually needs help, if you're ever in that situation, man, I can't tell you. I'm painting this picture so that you understand how frustrating this can be, and this is with me knowing exactly what to do. And this is still frustrating enough for me to make this video about how much this company sucks. I mean, this is fucking terrible, terrible. How hard is it to redo a homepage of a website and put some fucking buttons on there that says manage your domain names here? You know, it's not that difficult. Like, this is absolutely ridiculous. So, long story short, don't ever use Ezot, Ezot.com, EZOT.com for anything. Fucking terrible, terrible, terrible. Anyway, long story short, I get access to this. I unlock the domain name. Not that they couldn't have taken 2 seconds and done it for me. Fucking retards. And they knew this when they were emailing me, and when they sent me the authorization key, they knew that the domain was either locked or unlocked. They probably didn't give a shit and didn't even look. So they sent me this code, and then it has a convenient little thing at the bottom that says, oh, by the way, the codes, you know, are only, they expire. They're only guaranteed for a certain amount of time. Well, no shit, dumbass. So why didn't you unlock the fucking domain so it wasn't going to fail? This is the type of shit that I'm talking about. Just the service is terrible, terrible at this company. I'm not going to put this video out until this transfer is done either, because I don't put it past these fuckers to nix the whole damn thing and cause me more trouble. So, what was I getting at? I don't know what I was getting at. It's turning into a rant, but I think it's well deserved. I really do. This is unfucking real. The amount of frustration and trouble that I've been through just to transfer a damn domain name. So, what registrars do I recommend? Namesilo.com is number 1. Cleverleverage.com /namesilo. or just go to cleverleverage.com and search for the name silo stuff, and you can read all about my reviews, why I like them so much, why I'm transferring all my domains away from GoDaddy into Namesilo. That's an interesting one. Namecheap.com is okay, but every time they keep changing the backend interface, it just gets more and more clunky. The pricing at Namesilo is better, and overall the interface and the service at Namesilo is the best in the business. I've used Internet BS before. Internet.bs or internetbs.net is the name. All those are good. Ones that I would stay away from are oneandone.com. I would not use, would never touch them again with a 10-foot pole. And that's enough for you. We don't need to make this longer than it already is. But anyway, to give you an idea of when you go with a company that is not well recommended or doesn't have good phone support, this is the kind of shit that happens. And this is why phone support is so important. Because if this was a company that had, would actually take my call, and I've left them several messages. I've called over and over and said, hey, I'm really having a hard time. I'm trying to help a client of mine out. And I sound educated about the process when I leave a message. Very professional, very polite. I'm not ranting like I am at this point. It's only because the lack of responsiveness has brought me to this point. They could have very easily just, called me, courtesy call, hey man, yeah, this is what you need to do, go here, here, and here, da, 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 da. I mean, it would have saved me hours of frustration, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. So it's just terrible service. It just goes to show how important good service is and how often we take it for granted.